And now, here with another designated podcast are Teddy and JJ.
Hello again, everybody. It's time for another designated podcast with JJ. And who are you?
And I'm Teddy Allen.
Oh, that's right. We're suffering through the doldrums, dog days,
Nothingness. Meal set.
of late July and early August, when everyone's in a rush to get their big sporting event out there, and there's nothing left. I mean, we talked about on Designated Riders last weekend. It's the nadir of bad weeks. I mean, it's just the best golf tournaments, one in Canada. The Yankees and Red Sox weren't playing. It was WNBA All-Star game. Everyone's just getting ready for the NFL, which has its Hall of Fame next week. Baseball had its Hall of Fame last weekend. By the way, speaking of the Hall of Fame, I forgot they had 6 guys in there this year. I know 4 of them got elected, but they threw in a Jack Morris and an Alan Tramelos, who don't seem that old to us
At all.
Yeah, I think they're okay.
We're their age. No, they're about 2 years
old.
old.
A little bit older than us.
3 or 4 years older than us.
I didn't mind Chipper Jones. Trevor Hoffman, I kind of think all relievers are pretty much the same.
Thanks.
Vladimir Guerrero had better stats than I remember him having. And the other, Jim Thome hit 600 home runs.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to get him in there, although he's never considered one of the better players. But anyway, those 6 are in. Never been to the Baseball Hall of Fame, but the 2 of us have been to Cooperstown and know that to be, I mean, even if it's the hottest day ever, which it's not, of course, you're still in Cooperstown.
Quaint city. You called me from the telephone outside of the Shortstop Cafe.
I think it was a Shortstop Cafe.
Oh, Teddy, it's just so, the only word I can say is quaint. And it is.
I forgot. I've been there twice. Yeah.
It
is.
is.
The Finger Lakes of New York. It's. I can only imagine what it's like Hall of Fame weekend. But and we talked about that. It's the only real Hall of Fame. Everybody else has a Hall of Fame, but baseball is the one. It's up here. The rest of them are down there. They have an arguable Hall of Fame. You can argue yes or no on whether this guy should be in. You start bringing up batting average or WAR or any kind of acronym they may have. Football, who knows one lineman for another? Basketball, they just let everybody in.
The other thing that sets it apart is, Canton's off an interstate ramp in Ohio. And this place, you got to drive to get there. Yeah. That's what we did through neat mountains, the James Fenimore Cooper area. And it was just spectacular. If you've never been, make a trip. And it's a place, honestly, where you can just go walk it. You just like, gee whiz, I'm in America.
Yeah.
You're in Cooperstown.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
With the street boulevards and the little Mayberry type, shops along the deal. And we stayed at a hotel right across the street. And if you remember this, JJ, we weren't going to get there in time. It was going to be midnight before we got.
I remember this story.
So the lady said, what was Tom Seaver's number?
41.
40. She said, you're in room 41. And Seaver was going in that year. Anyway, she said, I'll leave the, what do you call those things? Windows. Oh. The window open. Reach your hand. It's going to be on that little table where the lamp always is. She never met us in our life.
Yeah.
She said, I'll have both your keys in there because we had 2 rooms for several of us. Anyway, it was that kind of a place, and it was spectacular.
The first thing I ever recorded on a VCR was a Donald Sutherland special in 1981. Wow. The Game in Its Glory. It was the story of the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I found it on YouTube about 2 weeks ago. And it was, first of all, Donald Sutherland was a lot younger back then. But he's walking down the streets of Cooperstown, New York, and basically just saying what you said. This is an all-American city.
This is America, bro.
This is what James Fenimore Cooper, the whole deal.
Oh, it's just, you see the little smoke coming up off the mountains, the fog rising, and it's like the Indians smoking the cigars back there, and Rip Van Winkler. It's the whole. And that was our view when we got up in the morning.
Yep.
Then we walked uptown for about 25,
up the
40
hill,
yards.
Up the hill to Hall of Fame.
And there was the Hall of Fame. First thing I recorded on a VHS, which is in the parking lot of the Lambright Center now, where it used to be our house, was Man-Eater. By
the video?
The music video. Man-Eater, followed by Allentown, followed by Sexual Healing. That's
Marvin Gaye.
And I got it on the VHS.
Atta baby.
Not too bad.
Mine, I've got my VCR on a Saturday at Shreveport Refrigeration.
And speaking of, it was as big as a refrigerator.
It was. And I brought it home, hooked it up, and then went, okay. Of course, it was nighttime by then. It took me 4 hours to figure it out. Right. And I said, well, what's the first thing? It's 8 o'clock. So I set my VCR to 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And wait, 7:58, 7:59. Boom, 8 o'clock, and that sucker came on. I went, sweet.
That is beautiful.
I saved that for forever.
Yeah.
I watched it so many times that when I saw it back on YouTube the other day, the game in its glory, Sutherland was saying, I was saying them with him. I haven't seen a thing in 30 years. Mm-hmm. All right, speaking of Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame is next weekend. They'll have a game that no one will play in. This game is so important that they canceled it a few years ago because they had bad paint on the field. But NFL reminds me of the news items are always NFL holdouts.
Oh,
and those are such non-news items to me.
Such
Sam Darnold was holding out, and Julio Jones is in, and Aaron. I wouldn't even bring it up until they come out for the first game. And somebody goes, "Hey, where's Aaron Donald?"
Right.
Well, then Joe, you get in there and play defensive tackle,
like you've been doing at practice all the last month.
It is not. It's
not a big deal, man.
It was the end of the world when Julio Jones was not going to show up to a Falcons camp, and all of a sudden he's there, and everybody's fine. I'm just I'm so unimpressed. That's not really the right word. Just it's not worth worrying about. And all of a sudden these message boards and live reports from Sal Powell no.
Might be apples to apples or apples to oranges, but the NBA, I can't remember the last time a guy held out. No. It was a big deal. And the baseball, I can't remember the last time a guy, he's not down here in spring training. We hope that he's here soon, and we're working with him and talking to his people. When the Saints, years and years ago, golly, JJ, late 80s, practice, mid-80s, practiced in Ruston those couple of years.
Yeah.
The quarterback, the guy named Todd from Alabama. Shucks, think of it.
Rutledge?
No, his name was Todd. Something he played for the Saints.
Richard Todd.
Dang.
I thought you meant first name.
Class. That's a classic two first names, isn't it? Richard Todd.
Richard Todd.
He didn't show up, and it was a big deal for like 10 days. Then the guy comes, and then, it seemed like a bigger deal back then. Maybe it's because I was having to write something every day, and you can't write every day. It's hot. Or here's going to play offensive guard. Anyway, it's been going on forever, and you never hear any other sports where guys hold out. But like you say, if there was other stuff going on, you probably wouldn't even bring it up. When they start playing the game and they count, that's when
you start worrying about it. I wouldn't worry about the NBA Summer League either, Teddy, but apparently you find it talk worthy.
I wrote it down because is it so important? I don't know what the level of ferocity is. Do you get thrown out? Does a coach ever get thrown out of an NBA?
Has there been a T in the NBA Summer League?
I don't know.
Hey, and speaking of that, you're going to start hearing about the Elam ending in college in basketball.
Elam, okay.
ELAM.
Okay.
I of course ignored it for as long as I could until somebody made me mad, and so I had to do the research on it. It's this new way of ending games that they think will revolutionize basketball.
Okay.
And all it is when you get to 4 minutes left in the game, you add 7 to the team who's leading.
Okay.
And then the first one, so if it's 80 to 60, or 80 to 70, 87's the number. First one to 87 wins the game.
Interesting.
Well, it's interesting because there's going to be a game-winning basket at the end. That's going to end it. The ball's going to go through the net when it's over with.
Okay.
But again, I think it's a ridiculous idea. Mainly because think about a few things in the past. Christian Laettner's pass, or Grant Hill's pass to Christian Laettner. Mm-hmm. If it were the Elam ending, they would have just taken the ball and dribbled it down the court.
Yes, they would have.
Because there's no clock involved.
There's no clock.
Or the Bryce Drew play of Valparaiso beat Ole Miss that year.
Doesn't happen.
They would have just dribbled the ball down the court. Tyus Edney made that mad dash to
UCLA. I remember
for UCLA.
I watched that on.
Wouldn't have mattered.
Plus, you'll get used to a game ends at the end on a basket. Now I'm used to that, and it's going to wear off. The new will wear off of that.
Well, there are a lot. The reason they do it is to stop the incessant fouling at the end of the game,
which is brutal.
But I got a better idea. Just have less timeouts. I mean, if they're worried about timeout, then have less of them.
Right. How many? I know they have 47 timeouts a game now. What do you think they should have?
42?
Anything.
Maybe even 41.
How many do that? I've never seen anybody hardly ever run out of timeout.
Okay. Or just short. If you want to stop the clock, then stop it for 15 seconds. Put the ball back in play. Let's go.
There's a lot of ways to do it besides the Elam ending. I guess Elam is the guy who figured this out.
Yeah, and I don't even know how he's run for cover, I think. But either that.
He said they bought it. They're actually considering this. I'm joking.
I was just kidding around.
Me and Rusty were just cracking cracking fun.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's kind of out there. And again, all of this goes away when football starts.
Which won't be long.
You're not going to find a Big Three tournament or a throwback tournament or the tournament where they play for $2 million for the winner. All this stuff goes away.
College football should be reporting this week. I know we're coming to you the last weekend in July right now. Tech reports Thursday. Louisiana Tech does. Grambling should not be far behind, or the ULMers, or the Brad Lairds, the Fighting Brad Lairds, who are going to be featured, should be probably by now on a
designated video.
Quality Time.
Yeah,
right.
Quality Time. So we can't think of our own titles of all the things. We got so many things out there we can't think of the titles of all of them.
But speaking of football, before we let you go, asked a guy the other day his favorite Eagle. He said of all time. And I said, well, this is kind of a weird question. And because it's not what I had in mind, you'll see what I mean.
Was it Don Henley or
no?
That's
what I'm saying. He said Harold Carmichael. I said no. I'm talking about the Eagles.
Oh.
Eagles, like you're saying.
Okay.
So who is your favorite Eagle?
The band?
Right, the band. That's what I meant. That's why when he said Harold Carmichael, I just started busting up.
Clearly it's East Texas's own.
You're a Henley guy?
The pride of Linden, not Lindale. Always get them mixed up.
I do too. It's one of those.
A man who always gives credit to listening to KWKH.
He does.
11:30 whenever he gets a chance.
That often.
Which, of course, we're on.
I think, yes, we are. I think that you and Bonsai, which I can't spell Bonsai, it's AI.
Just don't worry about it.
Okay, from now on I'll just put Ben.
Yeah.
Because I can spell Ben. I think that Glenn Fry might be my
Really?
favorite. Yeah, now I know Henley had more overall game, and could sing, gee whiz. But all those guys, maybe not necessarily Henley, because Henley was really, really, really good. They're really, really good singers, but not great singers.
They can harmonize.
Together,
No, they can harmonize.
That's what I'm saying. Then together, it was perfect.
Yeah, when they did the Hell Freezes Over tour and did all this acoustic stuff, that was a new way of looking or listening to them, because Crosby, Stills and Nash is the ultimate harmonizing band to me. Carry On. When they get together in the middle of Carry On, it's like, wow. But the Eagles,
spectacular.
pretty darn good.
It was everybody was really good, and then together they were an example of the sum of the whole part being
right.
Whatever
that saying is.
Right.
Well, I got a saying for you. It's time for us to go.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to the Designated Podcast.
And if you're Timothy Schmidt, we love you too. No argument.
See ya.